Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel as I give you another episode of Behind the Play, where we take a look at some of the strategy and tactics going on in the Counter-Strike scene. And with this one, I wanted to take a look at our first look at FaZe with EliGE. And of course, this comes from the Blast Bounty qualifiers, where these were the first games we were going to see FaZe play with EliGE. And I felt like they were one of the more interesting teams to watch because their roster move was far less a one-for-one than some of the other roster moves we saw. So, for example, when you look at the whole situation with Rops coming in for Vitality, you know, kind of similar roles that Rops and Spinks were going to play. A little bit of overlap with Mezzy, but they were still, you know, both technically extremity players when it came to the T side and things of that nature, right? So a little bit more of a one-for-one in that scenario as far as what type of player that they were. And then even the whole situation with the Falcons picking up the Heroic core, you know, Nico, very similar role that he's going to fulfill for that core to what Nerds had been doing for Heroic in the past, and obviously Magus and Shush, very similar players in their own right. But with what FaZe was doing by bringing in EliGE for Rops is very different players. You have EliGE, who was an aggressive star rifler for Complexity and has always been more of an aggressive rifler, kind of an entry type player. He really overlaps a lot with Rain, for instance, on a team like this. And so I was really curious to see what they were going to do to kind of fill the void that Rops left behind as far as the type of roles that he played for the team versus, how can you implement EliGE to the best of your abilities and make sure you can optimize him, let him still be the star that he is, and get the most out of him as a squad. And so what we're going to do in this video is take a look at the first maps that they played. Obviously, they didn't qualify for the LAN portion of Blast Bounty. They only played the 2 online best of 3s, but they did play 3 maps throughout that. That was, of course, Ancient, Dust 2, and Inferno. And so I want to take a look at these maps, kind of how they were setting up their roles, and just kind of see what we're dealing with here. What are they experimenting with? What are they trying out? Quickly, just do some housekeeping here at the beginning of the video. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and do that. If you wind up liking this video, give us a thumbs up and a comment down below. Really looking to try to grow this channel. We're very near that 4,000 subscriber mark and aiming for 5,000. We're looking to just kind of keep growing this channel. We've grown a lot over the last month, over 500 new subscribers on the channel, so I appreciate that oh so very much, but just trying to keep that trajectory going. So if you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate that support. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. But just note that I'm looking at this from more of a macro level. I'm not looking at results-oriented things. I'm not looking at little micro mistakes or things of that nature. I'm looking at the big picture of just how they're trying to implement things, what their ideas and theory are, things of that nature. But let's go ahead and hop into these matches. Alright, so we'll kick things off with Ancient, and remember in this video I'm not looking at some type of results-oriented analysis. I'm more looking at the theory behind what FaZe is trying to do, what types of roles they're testing out. I'm looking at the bigger picture, not necessarily looking at the micro. And on Ancient, pretty much they have done a somewhat one-for-one where EliGE is actually taking Rops' roles on both the CT side and T side, which is usually the A side of the map, being kind of the quote-unquote A lurk on the T side or A extremity player, assisting in mid-control at times with Frozen, and then on the CT side being quote-unquote an A anchor. But that's really only at its biggest level. If you really look at how FaZe is actually trying to play, they're definitely trying to make things a lot more dynamic. They're trying to vary things quite a lot. They're still trying to engage EliGE as a star player, whether it be getting him involved in mid-control more actively on the T side, as opposed to just being some type of A lurk, or obviously loading up the box at B and just having him be a guy who's helping him execute the sites. And then on the CT side, you're going to see here that they're quite dynamic with how they do things as well. And again, remember, I'm not looking at the round result. I'm just looking at what are they thinking? What are they crafting? And things will assuredly evolve over time, but this is just first impressions from what we saw from the qualifier for Blast Bounty. So just to kick things off really quick, we had a force buy here, somewhat from M80 because I got a bomb plant in the first round. We are going to see utility come out from FaZe to try to block any type of fast mid control coming out of M80. They are going to ascend EliGE forward. Counter utility is going to come out, pushes EliGE back towards donut just a bit, but Stairs and Red Room never really get smoked off, so Frozen and Broke are able to maintain position, continue to put counter utility in play themselves, and set EliGE up with this flash to get aggressive at middle. He is able to pick one up, doesn't overstay his welcome, steps back, starts to play a bit of a crossfire with Brokey, who's playing opposite corner of him here as he plays donut. And again, limited firepower and utility, of course, for M80 in this round. They do smoke off stairs to block off any support from a deep middle position, but this EliGE Brokey crossfire, just too strong, able to swing off each other and get things done. So even though technically speaking EliGE is supposed to kind of be the A player, you can really see here that they do set him up still to actively play a more aggressive mid, and Frozen ultimately is kind of the one who comes over to be the A anchor in case it was necessary, but in this case it wasn't. So now we're going to round 4. This is like the first full buy round of the game. And as you can see, once again, they are trying to get EliGE and Frozen both activated at middle here early. And they are moving Brokey's op over at B. Obviously, you want to be dynamic with your CT opper, so it makes sense you're going to move that around quite a lot. But it's actually interesting that Kerrigan is the one who is going to come over and anchor the A side to allow EliGE and Frozen to play a double mid-aggressive setup. And I feel like we're probably going to see things like this a lot if I just had to guess from FaZe, whether it will indeed be Kerrigan rifling and Brokey and Rain playing B, or I'm sure there will be rounds where Brokey anchors the A bomb site with AWP. Some teams will have their opper anchor A to allow riflers to be a little bit more dynamic in middle. And that's kind of what you see in this round. Utility is really good, though, from M80. They are able to get themselves out into middle. They do take some chip damage with nades, but ultimately they're able to, push Frozen back, smoke off Donut. EliGE still trying to play inside, red room area here. He'll eventually get smoked off as well. And then they do set up for an A split. Actually do get some entries there. EliGE beats the timing on utility, but getting split by Donut and Long at the same time. Only able to get one. But so much damage had been done throughout the course of the round that eventually FaZe is going to clean this one up on the rotation. But again, not really looking at the result, just more looking at how they were trying to set up. Now here's a round where you can see FaZe actually leaving A completely open. So they are still trying to play Frozen and EliGE at middle and play Brokey's op at B while also getting aggressive in cave with Rain and Kerrigan, potentially to fight early at B if they can, maybe even come out and help swing middle if possible. At least that's the theory behind it, but EliGE does get caught in this particular case, and the B cave push doesn't work out, Sin able to catch them off. But just, again, kind of shows you that they're being very dynamic with their CT setups. They're not just throwing EliGE into some type of A anchor position, just a direct one-for-one for Rops. They're definitely trying to get him engaged in middle as a star. They're still letting Frozen play middle, his normal position. Sometimes he's more supportive. Sometimes he's actually getting aggressive with EliGE, where they can put both rifles in the faces of the T's, and you're kind of just seeing how that plays out. Here's a round where they actually decide to get EliGE aggressive inside A. So, again, while he is their A player, they've used him at mid quite a lot. In this round, they actually use him as an A aggressor, with Brokey kind of backing him up with the AWP, EliGE taking space, Brokey then holding the long lines and continue to allow EliGE to push forward. He is able to get the kill in this particular case and then fall back. And we'll look at one of the last rounds that they won. Here is indeed what I was talking about earlier, Brokey truly being an A anchor with the AWP this time. Frozen and EliGE trying to work middle together from Donut and Stairs. EliGE able to catch one at middle. Brokey able to catch Sin with the AWP. EliGE able to rotate, support Donut. Does get caught, but allows Brokey to stay alive behind Big Box. Frozen makes his rotation as well, and ultimately they're going to be able to hold that one off. Now here's a round on the T side that I wanted to show really quick. Again, EliGE is, in theory, playing the A position for Rops on this map, and Frozen continues to play the middle position, as he always has. Rain's always been kind of the B player, B entryman. Kerrigan always has assisted in B control or been a guy who can kind of roaming support or entry. Definitely one of those IGLs that can be like a sacrificial entry fragger. So see him move around quite a lot. And as always, FaZe is very dynamic in all their setups. And so this is one of those rounds where they're not going to ultimately win this round, but this is the first gun round of the half, and it kind of shows you what they're thinking. EliGE and Frozen both looking to get activated at middle here by the support utility from Brokey. But some counter utility from the CTs are going to slow them down and do some chip damage. Ultimately, though, they do get the mid control that they want. They're going to leave Frozen there. EliGE just making sure they're not getting pushed A. So he's still kind of playing that, role that Rops was playing. But then you're going to immediately see him kind of turn face and get activated and start helping attack mid a little bit, getting Frozen set up at Stairs. And then he becomes a guy that's trying to help them attack this B bomb site kind of after the fact. But CTs get the kill on Frozen at middle, get a great rotation through back halls, also have a double flank going B cave, and FaZe will ultimately get caught. But again, you can kind of see the theory behind what they're trying to do. And we'll play you just a couple more rounds here from this game. So this time you're going to see EliGE just load the box B and Frozen play solo middle. So the 1-4B is definitely an opening that a lot of teams are on this map sometimes just to kind of change the pace. And look, EliGE is indeed looking to be the one leading the B hit with Rain. They both get caught though, so really good initial engagement there from M80. Now this round, they changed things up by putting Kerrigan with EliGE over at A side while Frozen still plays middle. Rain and Brokey kind of doing their thing at B, so looking for split pressure here on this round. Unfortunately for them, Rain gets caught at B ramp, and while Kerrigan and EliGE try to double up into A, they get caught on an incendiary, try to force through it. EliGE loses his gunfight, and even though Kerrigan's able to get the trade, they're well behind this round, ultimately do wind up losing it. Again, here's another round where they're loading it up at B with Frozen playing solo middle. Gets pushed back by utility, but they're trying to make Rain and EliGE at entry duo still. In this case, they're looking to attack B cave and into middle with Frozen. And ultimately able to get the initial frag on this round. But as it continues to play out, we see Swisher just find a great timing through a smoke push for a double. Sin reinforces this position and is able to pick up a couple of kills as well. But again, just kind of showing you how FaZe are trying to line up. But now we're going to look at the last round of the game to see how FaZe won. And in this case, they're going for quick utility to try to get that forced mid control, and they will eventually just play through the counter utility of the CTs, and they get Frozen and EliGE eventually out into open space and looking to brawl. And Kerrigan even swinging from BK side, going to add to this attack. And so again, just kind of showing you the dynamic attack that FaZe are trying to bring to the table. Ultimately, this particular round got traded into a 3 versus 3, but eventually they're able to pivot. Rain catches a nice kill on the Swisher. Bomb is able to go down. They're able to ultimately win out a 3v2 post plant. So that just goes to show a little bit about the looks that FaZe were trying to do on Ancient to kind of sum it up. Yes, EliGE was technically playing Rob's spots on both sides of the map, but there was a lot of times on CT side where they were letting EliGE be a focal point at middle as an aggressor with a rifle, with Frozen supporting him, or Frozen and EliGE would both be focal points at middle with support from Roki or Kerrigan or something like that. And then on the T side, while EliGE was technically the quote-unquote A extremity player for ROPS, he ultimately was very active in trying to take mid-control with Frozen, or he was very much involved at just these heavy B setups where he's pairing up with the Rain and trying to be an entry into the side or B cave, or maybe even swinging mid from B cave side. So you can definitely see that it's not just a one-for-one for ROPS. They're certainly trying to create opportunities to still facilitate him as a star. So here on Dust 2, you are going to see things are a little bit different. Instead of putting EliGE and ROPS' spots, but playing a more dynamic style around it, they actually give EliGE Rain's star spots and put Rain in ROPS' spots. So on the CT side, you're going to see Rain as a new B anchor, with Frozen being his rotating support and CT mid player. You're going to see EliGE taking that A rotator position that Rain used to play, and then Kerrigan still remains kind of the A anchor. And then on the T side, you're seeing Rain playing that B tunnels position that ROPS used to play, whereas EliGE will kind of be one of those main mid players with Kerrigan, you know, really being kind of the tip of the spear, looking to, you know, attack Cat, looking to threaten the mid-B split, you know, being one of the focal points of the team as an opener. So this is kind of one of those maps where Rain has ultimately kind of made the sacrifice to facilitate EliGE to play, you know, spots where he can be more of a, you know, featured player. And so I'll take a look at one of these gun routes to kind of show what I'm talking about. As you can see, we are seeing Rain go towards B and Frozen play that B rotator position. We are going to see CTs put a lot of early presence at A long initially, but once they get Kerrigan set up, EliGE is going to be, again, kind of that focal point rotator. In this particular round, he's going to get aggressive on the catwalk position, going to have some support from Brokey. Even Kerrigan falls off long eventually as well, and they're just kind of playing together at this point. And as the round plays out, Kerrigan reclaims his anchor position back at long, gets a smoke from Brokey to kind of help support him, even playing somewhat aggressive over towards long A. He's able to actually go in there and just kill 3 people with an MP9. So this round, you don't really get to see a whole lot of action. But again, you're kind of seeing that theory come to fruition of what they're doing with their positions and roles. Then here on the T side, this round you actually do see EliGE because he has the best spawn for B tunnels. Will indeed be going B as they go for a quick long A control here with Kerrigan and Frozen. They put this smoke up initially to try to isolate anybody that might be playing towards pit side, but ultimately they can feel the pressure that CT's trying to push through that smoke. And while they're able to get some nice initial kills here and actually hold off this long A push, this is where EliGE off of B tunnels able to push through lower, get aggressive into middle, get some mid control. They catch Switcher's B tunnels push. EliGE able to keep this control over towards middle. Is going to get smoked off and has to kind of back up, but able to eventually play a little bit of a timing here and catch Sin in the back as his teammates took B site. Here's another example of this where they're actually going to do a mid-B split. So they do have Rain playing the B tunnels position with Kerrigan, Brokey for support, and once again, EliGE becomes kind of the leading force of the other side of this attack. So once again, kind of splitting up EliGE and Rain to be the two main pushers of the lanes. They're able to put a lot of pressure with numbers here, but EliGE also able to lead the mid portion of this attack and able to close this one up pretty easily as well. Here's kind of a better example of FaZe actually opening up in more of a default. You know, EliGE being the lower tunnels to middle guy, Rain being the upper B player, and then Kerrigan and EliGE being kind of the main focuses at middle, while Frozen was kind of the long A player in this situation. Obviously, though, he is going to rotate off of long and kind of just add to middle as they go for the mid-B split pressure once again. Able to come out middle and try to do this two-pronged attack on B, but there's actually 3 players playing towards B this round for M80. And ultimately, they are able to win this one out. But again, just kind of showing you a little bit of what their, you know, traditional default opening might look like. And then we'll look at the last round of this game, where once again, they open up very default. Again, Rain playing tunnels, Frozen playing outside long, Kerrigan and EliGE being the main factors at middle, roaming out from Brokey. They're able to flash Kerrigan into a deep stairs position to get a little bit of map control there. Held off by an incendiary for a time, but then as the clock winds, again, trying to pressure a little bit of mid-B here with that smoke. Also threw a bit of a lurk smoke at B site itself to really keep those players interested. But then they're just going to load up the box and go for a big A push. I like how they kind of added another route to this attack as well by kind of blocking off CT spawn and elevator positions to kind of give Frozen the space to kind of drop down. So not only do they have to worry about the cat cross, but they also have to worry about a slope push. And technically they still have to worry about long, though Keto has a really good spot in this situation. Ultimately, though, the drop down smoke doesn't quite cover CT spawn, so Frozen does still get caught. But EliGE still able to find Sin on Goose. In this case, Roki able to get the bomb planted. Rain makes this really late lurk out middle. Brokey able to make a good play from the platform. And so they're ultimately able to close out this game. But again, just kind of showing you a little bit of the default positions here. Just to give you a little bit more example of FaZe's T-side does too, we're going to look at their game against Pain, where the results of these rounds certainly don't go well, but again, at least you get kind of an idea of what their theory is. Again, opening up fairly default in this case, though they do quickly peel Frozen off of middle, and they kind of just bunch up and gather for a mid-B pressure. And this mid-B pressure is great, by the way. They're double smoking spawn, so one nade explosion isn't going to bust both smokes and cause them to get shot in the back. They try to swing into B. But as you'll see, while they get the entry on Davideus in middle, and so they're able to kind of do this two-pronged attack where Rain's kind of the entry coming through B tunnels. So even though he's the B tunnels player, he's still being used as kind of an entryman from this route while they're kind of using, you know, the Kerrigan and EliGE combo for this route. Snow just steps out and pops 3 people with the 5-7. And the route's pretty much over because of that. So that's just kind of one of those wacky individual plays that kind of ruins things. So in the micro, in the minutia of this, it doesn't work. But you can see the theory behind what FaZe is trying to do, and it certainly looked pretty damn good. Finally, we'll look at Inferno, which is the only other map FaZe played throughout this Blast Bounty qualifier besides Ancient and Dust 2. And in this, we again see EliGE kind of take over Rain's roles and Rain take over Rops' roles. So on the T side, you will see that they've continued to have Frozen be the main B control player, with Kerrigan being a guy who's going to support him a lot, but also be a roamer. You're going to see EliGE be kind of the main mid boiler player, also can still be an entry and trade fragger on executes, but then Rain is going to be playing the apartments, but looking to be more of a playmaker off of the balcony, not looking to just be someone who's going to lurk there. Though if they are trying to play some type of like 4-1B, then sure, Rain might be kind of the mid and apartments lurk while those 4 players are focusing on taking B control and into the B site. And on the CT side, EliGE will take over the A rotator position that Rain used to play, while Rain will take Rops' A anchor position. But you can also sometimes see Rain and Kerrigan kind of swap around based on spawns and tactics and things of that nature, so they are going to still be very dynamic in how they play things similar to Ancient. Kind of wanted to show you at least how they're setting up CT-wise, Kerrigan and Frozen remaining kind of the B combo, EliGE being the main rotator between A and B, and then Rain playing more of the anchor position on this A side of the map. It starts out apartments, drops down towards pit area, again, looking to be that anchor, while EliGE is looking to be the aggressor, peeking lane. Eventually kind of doubles up with Rain over here towards balcony, but ultimately this round goes the way of M80. But just, again, kind of showing you what the spots are trying to play. And here we'll look at just a couple more rounds from Inferno, just again to give you an idea about how FaZe are trying to play. This is their game against Pain. And once again, you can kind of see Frozen looking to be the B controller here, but kind of gets pushed off by CT Utility. EliGE and Rain kind of playing together inside the apartments. Eventually, this kind of falls into their standard play. Kerrigan pressures B solo. Something that Frozen can sometimes do. And Kerrigan would kind of be more with the guys here at middle, but in this case, just the way things played out, Frozen wound up in this position instead. And so you can see they are smoking Moto, looking to attack art side here. Frozen and EliGE leading that lane. And then you can see Rain trying to pop out of the balcony and be a playmaker, not just an anchor. And ultimately they trade their way into victory there. Then here is another round where you can see Kerrigan and Frozen exchanging and fighting for B control while EliGE looks to be the mid-aggressor. This time he gets really aggressive by himself and actually goes for a peek here and forces a reaction out of NQZ. Frozen and Big Zera duel it out here. Big Zera does win that fight against Frozen, and so FaZe immediately pivot into an A attack. Smoke on art side, though, allows EliGE to focus in on attacking lane. Going to get a flash here from his teammate to peek with. Spots Davideus into a slight backpedal. Looks to keep pressing in on him. All these flashes keep coming over as well to keep Davideus at bay at sight and keep Cowes from really being able to do much from this balcony and pit side. Rain comes flying out looking for Cowes. EliGE able to get the entry on the Davideus at the A site. And so that, again, just kind of shows you some of the theory behind what FaZe are trying to do on their T side. Inferno. We'll look at the very next round, where this time we see Rain and EliGE just get in this apartment's hallway aggressively very early. EliGE will eventually walk downstairs to boiler side. And so you can see, again, they're looking to put a lot of mid presence here early, with EliGE being that mid-boiler player, Rain being that apartments player. Eventually, FaZe do pivot off of this, going for some late B control. Ultimately, put that smoke down coffins and spawn and look to press into this B site. They're able to get past the CT smoke. Kerrigan and Frozen really leading the way on this. They win all of their fights, or at least exchange the way that they want to. And so EliGE and Rain will fall back, and they'll play the close pant B. But again, just kind of giving you an idea of those default positions. Sum up Inferno, we're seeing EliGE take Rain's roles as an A rotator on CT side and kind of the mid player on the T side, as well as still a guy who's going to be doing a lot of entering or trading behind Kerrigan or what have you. You're still seeing the Kerrigan Frozen combo at B control. You're still seeing Brokey being that roaming opper who can kind of help assist things with the rifle on T sides at B, or, help assist things at middle. And so this is one of the maps where they've elected to kind of really put Rain in Rops' roles and kind of let EliGE shine in roles that he's used to playing. And so that's going to do it for this edition of Behind the Play, as we kind of just take our first look at FaZe with EliGE and some of the changes that the team is making to implement him. Again, we can kind of see him go 1-for-1 for a Rops on Ancient, but definitely play things a lot differently. And they definitely are trying to still implement him as a star player in middle as much as possible on both sides of the map. And then we saw Rain kind of bite the bullet and take a sacrifice on maps like Dust 2 and Inferno to kind of facilitate EliGE to play the spots that he's going to be, the star that he can be in. But find ways to still use Rain more dynamically in order to still allow him to have a lot of impact. And again, Rain just showing his flexibility and veteranship as a player. And I do think the future looks bright for this FaZe once they figure everything out. It's going to take some time to polish some of those mid-round protocols and kind of just optimize the setups that they're going for. Again, short of a couple of crazy individual plays from Pain on Dust 2, I think they could have won that map, and that could have been a whole different series. But again, not wanting to focus too much on the micro, just looking at the overall bigger picture from FaZe. And so I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks so much.